In the United States is a magical, wonderful, sensual place called Virginia. It's a land of sexy hobbits and a surprisingly rich array of wildlife, but there are also darker elements to the state. Somewhere in Virginia is a small tunnel avoided by locals who know what's best for them. It's one of America's most mysterious and notorious locations, thanks to its connection to a several-decade-old urban legend. Passers-by often claim to witness strange occurrences within the tunnel. Visions of deformed figures dragging a bloody axe, dead animals hung up by chains, or the terrified screams of someone about to die. There are many different stories about the tunnel, but all feature a murderous figure known to attack anyone to come near what he considers his land. This is the legend of that bridge, a legend of murder, mystery, and bunnies. Late in the night of October 19, 1970, an engaged couple were driving through Fairfax in Northern Virginia. Pulling over at the side of the road, they began to feel as if they were being watched. Suddenly, a hatchet flew through their windshield, narrowly missing the female passenger. Before they could realize what had happened, they saw what appeared to be a man screaming at them. He warned them to stay off his land and never come back, and so with the hatchet still in the car, they sped off. When reporting the incident to local police, one of them said the stranger who attacked them was dressed as a white bunny with large ears. Police examined the hatchet, but the subsequent investigation was fruitless. A short while before this, another couple were driving through the same area when they pulled over for a brief rest. As if out of nowhere, a mysterious figure emerged from the tunnel in front of them, screaming at them. He was screaming threats at them unless they leave immediately, so they did. This time the victims made no mention of rabbits, saying they could not clearly see him but thought he was wearing some kind of white suit. With two incidents like this occurring in the same location, rumors began to spread. Some said the attacks were carried out by a KKK member in full uniform, but most soon told of an axe-wielding maniac dressed as a bunny who attacks anyone to approach the local tunnel on dark nights. The Bunny Man urban legend was born. You might wonder why a violent criminal would disguise himself as a bunny, and the truth is, those creatures are evil. I have a rabbit myself. On the outside, he does seem cute and cuddly, but behind his fluffy exterior, he's a bloodthirsty, sadistic murderer. All rabbits are, making the Bunny Man even more intimidating. On October 29th, a construction site security worker approached a man standing alone in the site. He was wearing a greyish bunny costume and clutching an axe. He began to chop at a wooden post with his axe, before turning to the security guard and saying, "All you people trespass around here. If you don't get out of here, I'm going to bust you in the head with my axe." Police looked into this report, but like others, found no sign of the Bunny Man. Newspaper stories sprung up around the incidents, with headlines like "The Rabbit Reappears" and "Bunny Man Seen." Stories of the Bunny Man killing and eating rabbits were widespread, echoing his origin. According to legend, a notorious insane asylum once stood in Clifton, Virginia. Some of America's most deranged criminals were taken to that asylum, and locals didn't like it. They feared an inmate might one day escape and cause havoc, so a petition was started in Fairfax County, one that successfully saw the asylum shut down and her inmates moved out of the county, which might have made it the greatest petition of all time. I've never seen a petition that actually led to any change, and they're usually a lot less ambitious than trying to get a massive asylum shut down. Also, you have to wonder what kind of person would start that petition. I feel that there are better ways to focus your energy than trying to put insane asylums out of business. So keep that in mind. The asylum was shut and dismantled, with patients being transported to new locations. One bus transporting inmates crashed into a tree, instantly killing most on board, including security. 10 patients escaped into the woods surrounding the area. 10 of the country's most violent criminals were now at large. Luckily, all of them were soon recaptured apart from one. There was no sign of the final patient, as if he had vanished into thin air. His escape took place in 1904. That same year, hundreds of freshly killed and skinned rabbits were found hanging from trees surrounding the tunnel. It was assumed the last inmate at large, Douglas Griffin, was behind it. When the body of a human was found strung up in similar fashion to the rabbits, searches for Griffin intensified. One dark night, police found Griffin at the tunnel, but when they tried to apprehend him, he jumped onto the tracks above just as a train was passing by. It was first thought he was killed by the train, but when no corpse was found, investigators had to assume he escaped. No sign of him was ever found, but every now and then locals have claimed to see the Bunny Man. If you visit the area today and ask locals about the bridge, you might just meet people who claim to have seen the Bunny Man, discovered dead rabbits, or at least heard mysterious laughter while walking by the tunnel. Those people are crazy Virginian liars, but there does seem to be at least some truth to the Bunny Man legend. So if you ever find yourself in Virginia's Fairfax County, be sure to avoid the overpass tunnel even if you are a rabbit yourself. But Fairfax is not the only place in North America to have a mysterious tunnel. In fact, one area of Canada has two. Just north of Niagara Falls is another small tunnel, an abandoned rail tunnel that for generations has lured locals towards it, wanting to find out if the legend surrounding it is true. To them it is known as the Screaming Tunnel. At first glance the tunnel seems quite unremarkable, built with limestone just before the outbreak of World War I. It was built directly under a railway as a drainage tunnel to remove water from fields surrounding it. Local farmers often made use of it to move livestock under the railway safely, but after the emergence of a dark legend they were reluctant to even go near it. According to that legend, there was once a divorcing psychopath who lived in the area. After losing custody of his daughter, he set fire to the family home in a fit of rage. Still in the grip of madness, his young daughter was forced to run away from him. Faced with open farmland, the tunnel was the only place she could find to hide. But it wasn't yet dark enough for her to hide among its shadows. The psychopath followed her into the tunnel, doused her in gasoline, lit a match, and set fire to her. Some divorce tactics are more extreme than others, and today few lawyers would suggest burning your daughter alive. After murdering her, the father disappeared and was never seen again. Many have since claimed to hear the screams of a little girl inside the tunnel. It's said that if you enter the tunnel at midnight and light a wooden match, you will see the girl appear before you, just for a few seconds until she screams and a gust of wind blows out your match. On some nights, another ghost can then be seen walking towards the tunnel entrance. He is the psychopath who burns the girl to death, carrying a canister of fuel and limping towards you. That's your cue to run away. Countless people claim to have visited the tunnel and had encounters like this, giving rise to much of its notoriety. The tunnel was even used as a filming location for a Stephen King film called The Dead Zone. Just outside Niagara Falls is an abandoned Victorian-era railway tunnel. The Grand Trunk Railway Tunnel was built in 1875 to bypass a canal above it, but tragedy would hit the tunnel before construction was finished. 3 workers died building the tunnel, including a 14-year-old boy crushed by a rock slide. Still, the tunnel was completed and opened to rail traffic. Then in 1903, 2 trains collided into each other within the tunnel. It's unclear if anyone died in the initial crash, but when 2 firemen responded to the accident, both died. They were killed by exposure to the flames, with one of them found pinned to a boiler. While attempting to pull his corpse from it, his hands and arms were torn from each other. The crash was caused by a sharp bend, meaning the driver of each train couldn't see each other, and so the tunnel gradually fell out of use. In 1915, it was finally abandoned. Since then, the tunnel saw no significant use, slowly falling apart, but stories soon emerged of the tunnel being haunted by the ghosts of those firemen. A thick blue mist is known to commonly occur within the tunnel, giving it a constant eerie feel. Many have claimed to see spirits in the tunnel. It might just be illusions caused by the mist, but legend tells a different story. The canal above was man-made. Its construction flooded a large area that was previously inhabited. Among the places flooded was a cemetery, and with a lack of communication and a lack of will, not all corpses were removed. More than 600 graves were left behind to be flooded, and still today they remain beneath the waters. It is said the flooding disturbed those graves and caused their spirits to rise up. As the tunnel is so close, they latched onto it. As the decades stretched on and notoriety grew around the tunnel, authorities decided to seal it, which only had the effect of making it even more terrifying. The tunnel today is known as the Blue Ghost Tunnel, As you approach, you'll see graffiti warning not to enter the Blue Ghost Tunnel, but on reaching the entrance you'll find it wide open, which you'd think would defeat the purpose of sealing it, but we're talking about Canada here, so don't expect normality. Paranormal investigators and urban explorers often enter the tunnel, but it might be wise not to. Being abandoned over 100 years ago, the pillar supports have slowly been crumbling away, leaving the possibility of them collapsing and the canal above flooding into the tunnel. It would be an interesting way to die, but you'd still be dead, so overall not worth it.